Hi, my name is Tom, and I was recently transplanted from Philadelphia to Seattle. I've often pointed out that the difference between East Coast and West is the difference between straightforward and passive aggressive. I've always preferred to speak directly and say what's on my mind, but the longer I live in the great Northwest, the more tempted I am to dip into that passive aggressive motif. Late last year, I began refinancing my house while the rates were still low. I decided to use my bank since I had a hefty sum deposited with them, making the terms of the loan probably more favorable. After a lengthy process of providing W-2s and bank statements, which I thought were both unnecessary since my paycheck is directly deposited in their bank, tax forms, proof of insurance, credit inquiries, and former address letters, we finally made it to Jen, the bank's processor. The following is the actual email exchange between me and poor Jen. On 12/21, I got an introduction letter from Jen saying that my loan had been through underwriting, and below was a list of required items for full approval while we wait for the appraisal to be completed. All she needed were two things: credit inquiry and address letters, and a copy of my photo ID. I sent both of those to her the following day. Then she noticed that I had co signed for an apartment and said she'd need to see a copy of the lease. I called her and told her I didn't think it was necessary, but she reiterated her request the next day. It took me a couple days to get a copy of the lease. I still didn't think that the lease was going to play into my loan since it was only a $500 a month apartment, but I got it for her anyway and sent it on its way. The following week, she came back and said that she had the loan approved, but that my wife was now going to need to sign a few documents. She followed up the next day saying that she still hadn't received the two documents, but she would like to finish closing the loan today if possible. Then she told me that I was correct, that she didn't need the lease for my son's apartment, but she wanted to see the guarantor agreement that I had actually signed. So I got her everything that she asked for and sent it on its way. The next day, she told me she was out yesterday and did not receive the fax. Could I send it again or email it to her? She was sorry for the delay, and as soon as she had all the documents, we could move forward. At this point, I got Jen on the phone, and I had her go stand by the fax machine as I resent all of the requisite documents. While we were on the phone, she mentioned that closing costs would be about $10,000. $10,000? I damn near lost my shit. We went over the numbers again and found out that was actually not the case. It was closer to $3,000. The other $7,000 was escrowed amounts that would be refunded from the current balance. I triple confirmed that there was absolutely nothing else that she could possibly ask for, and she confirmed there was not, until she sent me another request. This time she wanted to see if I had a CO2 detector installed. She needed pictures and email from when I got it installed and who installed it. I told her I didn't have CO2 detectors, but I'd buy a canary if I thought it would help close the deal. She came back and insisted that she needed CO2 detectors. Now, I know full well she means a CO detector, but she's asked for a CO2 detector twice now. It's at this point that my passive-aggressive tendencies kick in. So I write her back, "Thank you for suffering my sarcasm this afternoon. I really am annoyed with the frivolity of your underwriter. Just to be clear, did he actually ask for a CO2 detector? Because that would go off every time I exhale." She confirms, "Believe me, I understand and no worries. I have been in the business a really long time. I am used to all sorts of things, and honestly, I have to say that you crack me up. I would probably be worse if I was in the same position. Yes, the carbon dioxide detector is required as mentioned. You can take a picture of it installed and email it with a brief note that you installed it at your address." Okay, she asked for it. I sent her a picture of a CO2 detector. She informs me that what I've sent her is a picture of a plant and wanted to know if I wanted to proceed with closing on the loan. Even in my current passive aggressive state, I couldn't keep this up. I got Jen on the phone and gave her a quick chemistry lesson explaining the difference between CO, the stuff that kills you, and CO2, the stuff that plants breathe while replenishing the oxygen in our air. Then I switched back to my East Coast mode and politely asked her to convey to her underwriter what a hapless, worthless I thought he was. Not only would I not be purchasing a CO detector to satisfy his latest whim, I will also be closing my sizable accounts with the bank. About an hour later, I received her response. "Mr. McSweeney, we went to upper management, and they allowed us to remove this condition. You are moving into closing. I am sorry for the delay. Thank you for sticking with us through the process. I know it has not been delightful. Have a wonderful day. Thanks, Jen." I guess it pays to just stick with what you know.